Hello and welcome to The Extra Mile. I'm Linda Boudreaux. Our guest today is Cian Robinson. Cian is the Assistant Director of the Center for Business and Information Technologies at UL. We're going to find out what they're doing over there. And so let me begin by welcoming you to our show. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for having me.
Now, is the Center for Business and Information Technologies a new division or new program at UL, or have you all been there for a while, or has it evolved?
No, ma'am, we've been there for a while, and like any research center, it does evolve over time. We've been there a decade plus.
Okay.
I'm a new addition. I just came here in 2012.
Welcome to Louisiana.
It's good to be
and
here.
to UL.
Thank you.
And so, before we get too far into it, where is it located? Where are you?
We're off of Cajun Dome Boulevard. We're on the corner of Cajun Dome and Duval Court, right across from LIGHT, or the Louisiana Immersive Technology Enterprise. Everybody knows it as the glowing egg across from the football stadium.
It's a wonderful multicolored building that lights up at night.
That's correct.
Yes,
That's correct.
Great. In fact, I take the kids by in the dark and say, now look, see how wonderful it is. It's like magic.
It's a great facility.
It really is. But on to what we're here to talk about today.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the Center for Business and Information Technologies?
We're a research center located in the Research Park. Specifically, we specialize in working with various different organizations. It can be a small startup all the way up to a Fortune 500 large state agency or federal agency. And we specialize in looking at software development, database design, database development, data interpretation. And we act as folks' innovation partners and help with economic development and workforce development in the community.
Whew.
Yes.
Let's break that down a bit.
Yes, ma'am.
Because, the times have changed. So it's not like, you just go get an SBA loan somewhere and, in a cash register and a tape anymore, right? Those days are gone. So when you're talking about working with these systems and software development and all that, what does that mean? What does that translate into in the real world, in the work world?
Oh, and the translation in the work world is every organization out there today has some type of software it touches. It may be on their phone. You may go to the farmers market, right, over off of Johnston in the what is the horse farm, right?
Yeah,
which I've come to be fond of. And you'll watch the vendors, and they'll sit there with their smartphone, and they'll have a square at the top, and they swipe your card. Well, everything that they're doing right there is software controlled. And somewhere in the world, someone has designed that software to be able to read the card, translate that read into a payment opportunity, transmit that payment opportunity to a bank, have that resolve, have the money end up where it needs to be. All of that continuum of care right there is all software designed and software driven. And so what we do is we work in the research division, and we help these companies think those things through. We have professional software developers on staff, but most importantly, we strongly integrate with all the different students that come out of the university. We work with the folks, we call them UGAs, or undergraduate assistants, and we also have graduate assistants, so those getting their bachelor's are the undergrads, and those that are getting masters and PhDs are our graduate assistants, and we work with those students, and we work with our professionals to help define the projects and design the software for our different clients. Those clients can be a small business walking in off the street that has a great idea about something what they want to do, but doesn't quite know how to go about doing it.
Right.
All the way up to one of our more interesting and stronger partnerships is with the Louisiana Department of Health and Hospitals, where we're their innovation partner. We're working with them at all different levels of software design, development, and support, and working with them to basically run their organization with software.
What a monumental task. I want to get to that one in just a minute, but I want to go back for a minute and talk about the students and the undergrads, the grads, the faculty, the staff, and the community, and how that partnership works, because that is such a wonderful opportunity for young people entering the field to really learn how it works, huh?
Yes, ma'am. What they do is in the classroom, They get the theory. And the great thing about the University of Louisiana Lafayette is it's not just pure theory driven. They have a very strong, and we have had traditionally a very strong interaction with industry.
Which is important.
Which is enormously important. And so in the industrial interaction, along with the theory that these students get, they come out of the classroom and we're ready to put them to work. They get to work on practical applications. They get to turn that knowledge in the classroom into real world experience. And so generally we, with undergraduates, we look for juniors and seniors. And then all levels of graduate students, from masters all the way through to PhDs.
Okay.
And we integrate them into a project. We give them specific tasks to do, specific code, software development to be done, code to be written, databases to be designed. And so they get to build out through us a portfolio of real world experience.
Which makes them very employable once they finish.
Yeah, that's correct. We've been very fortunate to be growing, and so we have positions currently open, and so we try to grab them selfishly. But
we know who we want.
Yeah, that's right. So we get to see the cream of the crop, perhaps, and we get to develop them in the way we want them to be trained.
Nothing wrong with that, I say.
No, ma'am. But eventually, great organizations in the community come in and scoop them up because they're just so well trained and such great experience.
Okay, so given that, I guess then to go back to the Department of Health and Hospitals
Yes, ma'am.
project, which is just overwhelming to even think about, even the process, I think, of figuring it out, thinking logically through what has to happen. Do you help them do that? Because that alone is a huge job.
Yes, ma'am, we do. And so not only do the students get the practical technical skills, but we also work with them on their organizational, project management, personnel management skills. So in many times, specifically with the graduate assistants, we'll hand them a project and say, here it is. We'll help them compartmentalize it and get it structured, but then say, go run it. And then they get other either graduate assistants or perhaps even some of our professional staff, and they work directly with them and they manage that project.
So, and that's how it works in the real world too.
Yes, ma'am, sure does. And teamwork.
Yeah.
Teamwork.
Yeah, because nobody can do it all by themselves. I mean, you just can't think that broadly and that creatively all by yourself. You got to have something to bounce off of, huh?
Yes, ma'am. And the critical thinking skills are absolutely essential. The ability to identify a problem and come up with a solution for that problem and present that. Not just presenting a problem to your manager or your boss, but saying, look, I've identified a problem and I've identified a solution for that. That creates value as an employer.
That works. So let's talk about the Department of Health and Hospitals. So
Yes,
you
ma'am.
have a contract with them.
Yes,
the
ma'am.
university does.
That's correct.
To do what?
All right. All right, so it's a 3-year contract. We kicked it off this past February, so we're very fortunate to have that. What we're doing is we're their innovation partner.
And that's the word that stumbled me. What does it mean to be an innovation partner for DHH?
So we come in and we help them think through what they're trying to do with their software and their architecture and their databases and how they use their data and to help them think beyond what they already have. Currently, they have well over 450 legacy systems running over there.
And what is a legacy system?
A legacy system is a piece of software that's been running for a very long time that hasn't been updated. So
you can't even say that straight face.
no, because we see when we get in there are still systems that are mainframe, COBOL, Fortran based.
You mean we're not using that anymore?
No, ma'am. Well, yes, we are actually. We are, but not extensively. But we are still running those types of systems. A system can be as simple as some analyst has to design an Excel spreadsheet, and this Excel spreadsheet goes out and pulls information from various different other databases and then puts it all into one spot where then they create a report off of it or they generate some information off of it. That's a system. And so we've got these running all over DHH, Department of Health and Hospitals. And it's really a form of...
Do they even know that? Were they aware of
No,
that?
that was fun. It was like an archaeological dig. So we got in there and we started realizing exactly where all these systems were. And there were funny ways well, one day I think we said, oh, look, this database really isn't accessed a whole lot, and it's just some legacy data. Let's just shut that down. Well, the moment it got shut down, 4 phone calls came in and said, what are you doing? I can't get my data anymore. What's going on? So then you bring that database back up. You say, okay, now we found some more systems out there. So it's this really archaeological dig, organic way that we started finding all this stuff. And the way it came about was funding.
Yeah.
They would get funding for a project. That project required some data to be collected. Well, then they needed a database, and so they designed a database. Well, then you had to interface with the database, so they put what we call a front end, or a way to look at that data. And so all these little systems were born all over the place. And then the data was all smokestacks, so all those the great data all over the place. And so what we're helping them do is there's this little thing out there called the Affordable Care Act that's about to be...
Oh, yeah, just a little something.
a little
something.
Little
Yeah.
something coming down the pipe here. And by October 1st, there's several of these 450 legacy systems, a handful, that have to be compliant in order for people to be able to, are now eligible for Medicaid, register for Medicaid. So we're working very diligently to get those systems compliant. But once that's done, we're looking at helping them, the DHH, really rethink how they're going about collecting information and running their systems. So what we're doing is we're going to help them think through their enterprise architecture.
What is an enterprise architecture?
So enterprise architecture is the collection of all your software and all your different systems that run your organization. And so we're helping them think how we pare it down from 450 to a handful, and then make that handful, make that hard and fast rules so that people don't just start developing systems all over the place again. That there are certain aspects that don't move, that are non-negotiable, right? You have to use these types of tools, these products. They're residing on these networks with these systems. So you very much control it and create some homogeneity in the way it's used. So that way you can begin to do and specifically with the data, you can start to do interesting things, interesting analysis.
We can't do that now with the hodgepodge that we have. Or it's
We try. Bless our hearts, we try.
And they don't even talk to each other. A lot of those systems,
that's correct.
They don't communicate. And so,
that's correct. It's it's sort of like you want to go to the doctor's office. Where's your health care information?
It's in my doctor's office.
Right.
But
okay. So how do you access it?
I call my doctor and say, what's in there?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And so there should be unique ways where we help people own their own health, is what we call it.
Is that part of the goal?
Yes, ma'am. It absolutely is. So that people can eventually, I'm not saying it's tomorrow, it may take several years, but look at your smartphone and be able to securely connect to that information that is stored at the Department of Health and Hospitals and be able to access it and make it actionable for yourself. That also can then append that information. So folks have Fitbits, and when you go for a walk, you have the footstep counter, and all that information now is coming so that it can be read by your phone, right?
Right.
So it integrates
that's
with
already
your phone.
happening.
That's correct. And so that information being fed in your phone can then also be fed into your health record. And so how do we go about doing that and working with your doctor? So there are various different technologies that are out there that we're looking at, that we're working with the Department of Health and Hospitals to look at. We have very strong local partners like the Lafayette General Medical Center, a very strong partner of ours that we're working with.
And they've really stepped up with the whole state system now,
Yes,
so it's
ma'am.
another reason to integrate all of those, I would think.
Absolutely, and we're working with them to create what's called the Living Lab Institute, which is taking all this great information and systems that will be put in place at DHH, the forward-thinking nature of the Lafayette General Medical Center and their leadership, and saying, how do we get companies to come here and try out new technologies that may help all of us?
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
And how can we make sure that all of those technologies are talking to each other? I mean,
That's correct.
If my information's in the state system, but I want it in Lafayette General system, are they communicating?
And they are right now, but in a limited fashion. Another partner of ours is the Louisiana Healthcare Quality Forum. It is a federally funded, state-funded entity that runs what's called the Louisiana Health Information Exchange. So
And that's really that's the overarching piece of it. Huh?
That's correct. And so they're going out, they've got 53 member hospitals, of which I believe it's either half dozen to a dozen, I can't remember the exact number, are already sending their information into the Health Information Exchange.
Okay.
So that if you say your doctor's based here in Lafayette, God forbid you're driving up to Alexandria, there's a car wreck, you get to the hospital in Alexandria, well, that hospital in Alexandria, instead of having to call all over the place to get your medical record sent to them, simply taps into, it's called the LAHI, or the HIE, the Health Information Exchange, and are able to pull all your information down immediately, and there's no lag. So
that's starting to happen now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And so we're helping with that. Part of what university does is we act as that research partner amongst and between all of them. We act as, I guess, some glue. We take our software developers and we help them think it through. And so it's been just a phenomenally interesting, exciting project to work on between our contract with the Department of Health and Hospitals, our partnership with Lafayette General Medical Center in the Living Lab Institute. What we're trying to do with Cajun Code Fest, I think, is one of the reasons why Andrea, probably my external affairs manager, works over at CBIC, called you up. We have a Code-a-thon every year.
I don't even know what that is.
Cajun Code Fest is a annual event that CBIT runs. It's our signature event, the Center for Business and Information Technologies we run. And we this year had 400 people from 14 states and 42 cities come to Lafayette, Louisiana, to, over a 27-hour period, create new products and applications surrounding healthcare data and how people can own their own health.
So this is it's a huge national issue, and if I'm hearing this right, UL is like playing a major role in developing all this. Am I hearing you right?
Yes, ma'am, we are.
So we can be really proud of that.
Yes, we can. And this rolls all the way up to the Federal Department of Health and Human Services. We have very strong ties back to them.
Is that just because we're really good?
Yes.
I like to say that.
Yes.
This is not a political connection. We're just really good.
That's correct. And and again, it isn't a political connection. This has been across administrations that we've been successful. And so just last year we had, he at the time was the Chief Technology Officer of the Department of Health and Human Services. He's now the Chief Technology Officer of the United States. Todd Park came down and presented. This past year we had the Chief Technology Officer of Health and Human Services, Brian Sivak, come. And we also had the Office of the National Coordinator, and that office coordinates all healthcare information technology policy for the United States, and Dr. Farzad Mustashari came down. Both of them have been talking up what we did with Cajun Code Fest, what we're doing with the Living Lab Institute, what we're doing at the Center for Business and Information Technologies, what we're doing, another center that I was talking about just briefly before we got started, the Center for Visual and Decision Informatics.
Yeah, it's like,
and then the Center for Software Excellence. So we're taking all these assets of the university and we're helping drive change in healthcare.
It's mind-boggling. It's absolutely mind-boggling. But one of the things a comment I just really want to make is that, we're looking at change for our individual health care, but also systemic change, because with the data that we're able to collect, we can see what works and doesn't work, and where we need to put our dollars, and how we need to develop our healthcare systems in a way that's going to just, I think, improve the quality of life for all of us. Would you say that's true?
I would. One of our mottos, and again, it's across the board with all our partners and all our different centers, is fail fast, fail forward. All right. So we have the ability and the layout within the infrastructure here. I mean, I've even talked about, LUS Fiber and the fiber optic to the home that we have. And
which I'm so proud of.
Which is an amazing asset that not many communities in the United
Yeah.
States have. But we have these phenomenal assets, and if we're able to sit there and try something and not be afraid to try it out, and if it fails, so be
what?
it.
So
Fail
what?
fast, fail forward, learn from it, try again. And eventually that creates economic development. That creates new businesses, new startups, that generates wealth for the community, that diversifies our economic development base.
And it's a lovely industry. I mean,
Yes.
there's some industries you want, there's some you don't want. I think this is a great industry to have.
I think so too.
But before we started, one of the things you were saying, one of our big challenges is getting our workforce up to speed.
Yes,
huh?
ma'am.
What's that all about?
So right now, we estimate that 5,000 software development jobs go unfilled in Louisiana on an annual basis. Right now, with
Just in our state, not...
just in our state, not nationally. I mean, nationally, it's the hundreds of thousands. And as you can imagine, a lot of those are located in the Californias and the East Coast, West Coast type of race. But here we are, the South, the heartland of the United States. Here we are, and 5,000 jobs every year go unfilled.
That we could fill.
That we could fill. And so we're working to create the Center for Software Excellence, which is a partnership between South Louisiana Community College, University of Louisiana at Lafayette, our Lafayette Economic Development Agency, the State Economic LED, Louisiana Economic Development. And what we're doing is we're working to create this one-stop shop where if you want to learn to be a software developer, you can come. You can get a certificate from SLCC, you can get an associate's from them if you'd like, and then you push that up to, that associate's transfers to a bachelor's program at the university and a master's and a PhD. We're also engaging all the secondary education systems.
Okay.
We cannot get students fast enough out of and qualified enough out of the secondary education systems and into our computer science programs.
And that's what I'm sitting here thinking as you're talking. So we're looking at high school students.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of skills do they need? What kind of people make good software developers? What does it take?
It's right brain and left brain.
So you got to be able to cross over.
Yes, ma'am. You absolutely do. You have to be creative. You have to be able to conceptualize a problem, have good, strong logical skills, have good, strong mathematics skills, and then use those and learn a separate and distinct language.
Okay, well, that sounds a little intimidating.
But it's not.
Okay.
It really is. Can everybody do it? No. It's also why software developers are some of the most highly paid, really good ones, are some of the most highly paid individuals out there. I know we have an entry-level positions, and these entry-level positions pay anywhere from $45,000 to $55,000 a year.
For your first job out of school?
For your first job out of school. Right,
Yeah.
and we have folks that, the majority of the folks have a minimum bachelor's, but we have a few folks that have associates that have been in the workplace 10, 15 years that are just phenomenal. So
Because they think that way?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And they have a passion for it. And so students coming out, and there's a continuum. You can, if you like data, you can get into database design, data analysis. If you like to develop software, most young, I have two sons, right? And the way they interact with software is through their game, whatever they're using. Okay?
I'm thinking the kids today might be more comfortable with it.
Absolutely, and so they know, they intuitively know what's going on when they start to design these games. Start to design these pieces of software. So, just because I say the M word, math, and most students go, I don't want to, no. It's not that bad. It really isn't. It's some good, strong mathematics skills. And I'm not talking, you need, all the way up theoretical mathematics.
I'm going to ask what kind of math
proofs
you need,
and the ability to prove the existence of the number zero. It's, good, strong algebra skills.
Okay.
To start. Should you have perhaps some calculus thrown in there for some fun? Sure. But good, strong algebra skills, good, strong basic arithmetic skills. And you can get yourself started and have a very successful career. So engaging with those secondary education systems to bring those students in to be able to then produce certificates and associates and bachelors and masters and PhDs. And most importantly, we're not doing this in a vacuum. This Center for Software Excellence is going to be driven by the needs of industry. We're going to go out and work with industrial partners and determine what do they need, what are they looking for, what are the trends that they're looking for, and then be able to say to our delivery network, how do we get that done?
Okay, so it's working with the community at large, with business, with education, to
Yes,
bring
ma'am.
them together to be able to move ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
So, do you think we can do it?
I'm certain that we can do it. We already have some projects that are getting teed up for something like this. In working with, we have, and I can't speak to it specifically, but we have a proposal out there that right now there's a state agency that would like us to come in and evaluate their current workforce, and then once we get done evaluating the current workforce, put a training plan in place to help them move their workforce to the next level. And that's a Center of Software Excellence type of activity. We go in, we determine what they need, and then we go in and we help them train in that area.
It seems limitless. When you talk about it, and with the way that things are moving and the speed at which technology is moving and our whole data-driven kind of mindset, it just seems like, the sky's the limit for what you can accomplish over there.
Yes, ma'am, I think so. We're
So
very excited.
in the last couple of minutes that we have, if somebody wants to access your center, either as a let's start with the business, what would they need to do?
Walk in the front door.
Really, is it that easy? Just kind of come in and say, look, I got this problem,
I got this
or
idea.
this idea.
If you want to walk in the front door, go for it. You come up to the front desk. Very nice woman named Sally will take your name and information, and then we'll figure out who you need to talk to. If you want to give us a call or drop us an email, we're happy to talk with you. We work with small businesses and startups all the time. We work with a continuum of folks.
Okay, and then students, and I'm thinking like really just start with high school students because that's where it has to begin. Somebody watching today is interested. Those kids need to like just not be afraid of math, go ahead and buckle down and realize that it's absolutely doable. It's a career that they could have.
Yes, absolutely. And we have phenomenal staff at the university who can help them think that through and get them engaged. And they don't have to be just software developers. They can be designers, informatics majors. Those are folks that just look at data and visualizing data. I mean, there's such a continuum of opportunity for folks who want to be involved in this field.
So think broadly and jump in.
Yes, ma'am, both feet.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
Exciting. I'm so proud of what you all are doing. I really am proud. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching The Extra Mile.